time to do something a little bit different with the podcast, I think. So if you'll excuse me very quickly, I am just going to hit record on my audio application so that I can get this taped as well for upload as a podcast as well as the live stream episode. So if you'll give me one moment. And of course, this is right when the bloke on the Harley decides to pull in over at the petrol station next door, which is great for noise levels. So hopefully I'll have to give this a little bit of silence so that I can get... is he gone? Hard to tell. Alright, so give me just a couple of seconds of silence. You'll get me looking at the camera and being for a little while. So... The Paid to Play podcast, episode 58, mailbag and, money where my mouth is, mailbag and musings. Whether by PC pod or pad, you're listening to and quite possibly watching the Paid to Play podcast. I'm Rob Farker, your host for this weekly exploration of the dangerous idea that bringing your whole self, especially the bits that you worry people will think of as geeky or odd, into your income-generating life is the best thing you can do. It might be easy, but it is easier than we think or even fear, and I would like to show you how. So, in every even-numbered episode of this podcast, I like to talk about my own efforts for getting paid to play. In every odd episode, I chat with someone who has, to one degree or another, succeeded in getting paid to play, whether it's just as a sideline or as their main source of income. But I like to try and make sure that I am walking the walk as well as talking the talk, that I'm not just telling other people that it can be done without taking a shot at it myself. So this is what these kind of episodes are for. And folks, if you are seeing this on YouTube, I'd better minimize my audio recording application and just see if anyone is here with me in live chat. No, unfortunately it looks like there isn't just yet. And earlier on I was, oh, hang on a second, I now have a 1 watching count. So if you are here and tuning into this, thank you very much. If you've got the chat option, please come along, please say hello. I am keeping an eye on it. It might be a few seconds delay, but I would like to know that you're there and that you're watching. And if you do have any questions, please at any point whack them in there, and I will do my best to answer them, provided of course that they are polite and reasonable. Starting off with money where my mouth is, the bit where I talk about my own efforts to get paid to play and how successful they are. Well, it is the as I record this, it is the morning of Sunday, the 6th of September. Happy Father's Day to all of you fathers out there, by the way. And if you are watching this as a dad and you are dealing with trying to make your thing into a stream of income, but you're not really sure how you can do it between all your other commitments, including raising your youngster and or youngsters, please go and head over to the Paid to Play website, and you'll find that there is a tag there labelled Dad, because I have actually spoken to quite a few people who are also fathers, and for you ladies out there, quite a few people who are also mothers, who have managed to make their play into an income stream while raising kids, or a kid. So it is possible, folks. I myself don't have any kids, so I can't speak to it, but again, I do like getting people onto the show who are raising children, because I think that kind of tend to be the main thing that makes you give up on pursuing your dream as a source of income, is when you do have a kid, because all of a sudden your whole life revolves around trying to turn this so apologies folks, this spawn of yourselves into the most sane, most stable human being it can be. And yeah, you kind of forget that sometimes maybe if you're trying to tell your youngster that the world is their oyster, you need to maybe showing them by example, or else they'll just growing up calling bullshit on you and, you know, wondering why, you know, feeling like the only options available to them are the options that conventional wisdom tells them are the only ones they can pursue. That does sound a bit harsh, but folks, please keep pursuing what you love doing, and, you know, stand up for it, and make sure that people are rewarding you for the things that you do for them, and, you know, the happiness and the stability, the personal stability you'll get from that will be a fantastic example to your kids. So enough of that little bit of waffling on. I'm 5 minutes into the stream, and I've not even got to my own progress on getting paid to play. It's been a pretty good couple of weeks, as I've said. It is the beginning of the month, which means my Patreon donations have rolled over. Thank you once again to you fine people who are backing me, and a quick thank you to my new backers. I now have 3 patrons at the $3 an episode level, which is fantastic. Thank you. If you are watching this and you would like to, you enjoy this podcast and this show, please consider getting behind it, even if it is only at the $1 per episode level. So that will work out at about $2 US per month. No, actually, it won't work out about $2 US per month. Actually, yes, it will, because I record 2 interview episodes per month. That's all I charge for. And all I need is $2 an episode more, and the podcast will have hit its first and currently only funding goal, which is to cover its own expenses, hosting and annual domain name fees. If it could do that, that would be absolutely fantastic. That is something that I could take out of my budget, and yes, I can then work on from there and see what else I can do in terms of funding goals, get a little bit aspirational with the podcast and see where I can go with it. Aside from that, I actually had, I'm not sure whether I mentioned in my last episode, my last even numbered episode, that I had a gig on Fiverr. I have actually had 2, and both of them were voice work gigs. One of them was an introduction for a podcast, and another one was an almost character-based sound clip that is going to be worked into an ad for a charity organisation. So with any luck, those will be up sometime soon, and I'll be able to link to them and add them to my portfolio. So that means both of them tipped. So that means I've got, after Fiverr takes its cut, $16 US coming to me. Of course, PayPal will take its cut from that as well once I process that through, so that'll be a little bit less than $16 US, but hopefully with the exchange rate the way it is at the moment, it will work out a little bit more than $16 Australian, so that's something that I can kind of put toward the hosting fees as well this month, and also to pay off some of my freelance expenses. I bought myself a copy of Microsoft Word Professional a while back when I was looking at doing a bit of freelance writing work, which cost me around about $150. I still have about $30 that I want to pay off of that. So yes, any more work I can get in there would be good. So that is pretty much where I am on Money Where My Mouth Is. I am getting a bit of confidence from the fact that people are actually paying me for voice work, and as always, it is fantastic to get more backers on Patreon. I might have to modify this video later and include lots of little links all around here for the Patreon page for Paid to Play. Then again, it's not too hard to find. www.patreon, which is Papa Alpha Tango Romeo Echo Oscar November.com/paid to play. Sounds like we've got someone doing a U in our driveway. Unless it's someone actually parking in our driveway. No, phew, it's not someone parking in our driveway. That's a relief. So if you'll pardon me for just going to check, I wanted to make sure. That would have kind of cut this stream pretty short. And it's interesting, I'm actually looking at myself because there is a bit of delay checking the window, so at least it's good to know that I look alright from the back. So, musings. Where am I at overall in terms of getting paid to play? What are my thoughts and feelings on it? And I suppose what's next? Well, as I said, let's talk about voice work for a sec and finding work in general. It is a great little confidence boost to have these jobs on Fiverr, to know that I can get work and that people find what I do valuable. I think that is one of the big hurdles, and as much as people might be able to reassure others that yes, they have a professional grade talent, it's another thing to have the confidence to pursue that talent, and to know where to look. So sometimes these small jobs can be great for finding work. It's great to, set yourself a rate and try and stand by, but sometimes when you're just not doing any work at all, it saps your confidence a bit. And it's sometimes hard to know what you can do in the meantime. I guess my thinking right at the moment, and this is something that I've tried once and slacked off on, and that I think I might need to get back on the horse of a bit more, is focus and organise. Get clear on what you want, and maybe try one thing at a time, and organise as much as you can around it. I'm thinking that the next thing I need to do, pardon my itchy, the next thing I need to do is to try and work out where I can go to find some more voice work, and especially to find professionally paying voice work, because now I do have these gigs under my portfolio. I feel like I can then step up a bit more and try engaging people and saying, I would like to work for you, what do you have available? So in that regard, finding people, I guess the thing I can do is just brainstorm and maybe do a little bit of research. I remember a couple of years back when I last tried pushing on getting voice work, I hit the yellow pages. I looked for local video production companies and audio production companies and the like, and sort of got in touch. One of them I made a bit of inroads with and it didn't work out, but I guess if that's one thing I have a problem with, is just trying to keep a relationship up. Even when things aren't successful, just keeping in touch and saying hello and asking how my contact is doing, and just trying to keep it personal and friendly so that they do have a good impression of me, outside of just the guy who is keen to get some work and is a bit of a pest about it. I guess it's that frustrating thing. Sometimes people say, it's good to keep in people's faces about your availability and what have you, but also you want to make sure that people have a good mental reaction when they think of you, that you maybe put a smile on people's faces, not just because, if you suddenly think I'm short of work and I've not got any voice people, oh yeah, there's that guy who's always pestering me, because if they've got this thing in their head that, oh, he's kind of annoying, I mean, I know he's keen, but yeah, I'd rather, it's not a surprise if at the back of their mind they shy away from you and they think, I don't really want to work with that guy. So it's scary, networking and getting in touch with people. So try and stay positive and say, how are you doing and how have things been, and just try and find a way of connecting with people. And I guess maybe that's the other thing, try and find people in markets that you'd like to work in. I'm starting to think that I ought to get back into listening to the Starship Sofa podcast, which is a fan-based science fiction podcast show run by a Geordie bloke in the UK, whose name I am suddenly and absolutely blanking on. I'm not going to go look it up right now just because, hey, we are live streaming, and you one watcher, unless it is actually me that the system is recording as a one watcher, which would be kind of unfortunate. It looks like I've not heard anything from you yet, so please come along, and well, please, if there is someone else here and it's not just me that the system's recording, I hope you'll say something in the chat view, because I would love to know it's not just me sitting here chatting at the camera on this rather grainy looking live stream. Hopefully it comes out a bit better on the recording when it actually goes live on YouTube. But anyway, as I was saying, I used to listen to Starship Sofa on a regular basis. It's a little bit hard now because I don't have a system by which I can play my podcasts in the car. I've got an old pre-USB connections and Bluetooth connections radio system in the car, and know before anyone asks, I have other things I'd rather spend my money on than trying to upgrade it. Like actually repairing the car. If you've seen my personal news feeds lately, you'll know that my motor scooter, the Foxy Lady, unfortunately kicked the bucket on Friday, so I'm now pretty much have to commuting to the car, commuting to work in the car again, which kind of sucks because I'd rather leave it here for my wife Vicky to be able to commute in. What that really has to do with paid to play, it's just kind of indicative of general mindset and letting you folks know that yes, I do struggle with all the same stuff that you do. Really, you know, it's I have a tough time not letting these things get me down and thinking, oh, it's too hard, why do I bother? So if I can keep pushing on with these things and making stuff and standing up for it and saying, hey, what I do is worthwhile, and if you find it worthwhile too, please pay me for it. So anyway, rambling on again, back on topic. I used to listen to Starship Sofa a lot, and I remember that there were times that they would talk about masterclasses on getting voice work and all that kind of thing, and it's I like my science fiction, and being a reader on there would probably be a great way to increase my profile. Speaking of me reading science fiction, please go have a look at robf.com.au, because I just recently re-recorded a piece of voice work that I did about 3.5 years ago, which was the vignette that a fellow by the name of Steve Jackson, yes, you gamer geeks out there, that is Steve Jackson of Steve Jackson Games, wrote for the rules booklet for his tabletop war game called Ogre, and that piece of fiction had always intrigued me, and I loved reading it, and it was great to be able to perform it again. So that's kind of up there in my portfolio, and I shared it out on all my social media channels, so please have a listen if you like it. Tell all your friends about it, get them to listen too, because, and it sounds like the weekend warriors are all pulling up out the front. That's the annoying thing about living opposite a service station. We've got a great little parking space for everyone who's out on a Sunday drive to just pull up without going directly over to the servo and tying up the fuel pumps, so that they can nip across the way and get some brekkie from the servo cafe. Oh, I'm getting an orange warning on my stream health, which looks like that you might be having a few difficulties, folks. If you are watching, I apologise for this. I guess I might need to shut some more stuff down that might be tying up bandwidth, but then again, I can't see much else. So to kind of stop rambling and summarise, the next thing I need to do is to start getting a bit more focus. I of course have my other project, which I announced last week, which is my over-the-shoulder guide to Heroes of the Storm for folks who are just curious as to what their friends and or loved ones are doing exactly while their friends and loved ones are playing this game, and how they're winning it or how they're losing it, and kind of like, if you're not a soccer or a rugby league or a gridiron fan, but someone close to you is, and you just want to be able to keep up with the conversation and understand what they're rabbiting on about, pardon me, after the game. So that I'm still doing nutting bits and pieces out on my lunch break. Oh, great. Stream health is back to green again. Fantastic. I've had a few struggles with doing that over the past week, simply because there have been a few distractions on that score. I've had to give up a couple of lunch breaks to nip out to the optometrist. Vision in my right eye is starting to get a bit blurry, so apparently I'm my long-sightedness in that eye is getting to be an issue, and I might need some prescription glasses at some point soon. My left eye is fine, I can still see clearly out of that, but with my right eye open I'm getting a bit blurry vision-wise, and it's getting on to 20 minutes of this stream, so I think I'd really better start tying up. So what I would like to say is, and silly me didn't prep, well, here we go. Alright, good, the stream is still working. I was a bit worried there. Okay, I didn't get my usual tabs that I have ready to go, including my outro checklist ready. Here we go, doing it live, keeping it raw, needing the bloody practice. So, thank you all very much for listening and watching, and if that one person of you is still watching this, thank you very much for being in on this first ever live stream that I have ever done. It has been an experience, and as I do more of these, I'll get a little bit better with them. I would like you, of course, to do a few things for me. If you're watching this stream, or if you're watching the post-stream recording, please like it in YouTube, share it out with all your friends, +1 it on Google+, give the podcast itself a review and a rating on iTunes or whatever your favourite podcast aggregator may be. Spread the word about the Paid to Play podcast and any episodes that you like on your preferred social media channels. You will find that there is a Paid to Play podcast page on Facebook and Google+. Just search for Paid to Play podcast, it won't be hard to find. I am on Twitter, my handle is @ByRobF. And of course, if you like any of the previous episodes that I've got up on YouTube, please like and share those. And I would really, really love it if you could become a backer on Patreon. As I said at the beginning, your donations basically go to making this podcast a bit better, and right at the moment I'm just focusing on my first and only milestone funding goal, which is meeting the basic expenses of the show. So all I need in that score is just one more person to chip $2 per fortnightly episode, or two more people to chip $1 per fortnightly episode, or even just one person to come on board at the $3 per episode level. You can find out a bit more about the various rewards on the Patreon page. So in the meantime, and until next time, actually, that's right, before I do anything else, I had better say who next Sunday's episode, who my guest is going to be. And that guest is going to be a gentleman by the name of Sam Powers. Sam Powers is a master grade illusionist. He has entertained people on stage and on screen, here in Cairns, around Australia and across the world. He even took his show to Australia's Got Talent a couple of years back and placed very highly on there. It was a great chat to find out a little bit more about what it is, especially as he has had an almost lifelong interest in magic and has focused on it and pursued it, and has done fantastic things with it. He is in a multiple magician show called The Illusionists 2.0, and at the time of our recording, they were gearing up for some more international gigs across Asia and South America, and hopefully taking the show, if they could get any bookings for it, into the US. So please come along on Sunday when my chat with Sam will go live. And in the meantime, I am Rob Farker telling you to stand by your play. You never know just who out there might appreciate it and be willing to pay you for it. Thank you very much, everyone. And it is time to figure out how to shut this live stream down. Here we go. Goodbye, everybody.